Hello, this is Dave Sugarbaker, and today is the 8th day of October 2023. And I have very familiar reading from the Old Testament to start off with. This is from Ecclesiastes 3. We all know it. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, S-E-W, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. In 1907, Francis Wiley wrote this beautiful poem that I'm going to share with you that is known to us mostly as the text of a fall or winter hymn. The hymn is All Beautiful, the March of Days. All beautiful the march of days as seasons come and go. The hand that shaped the rose hath wrought the crystal of the snow, hath sent the hoary frost of heaven, the flowing waters sealed, and laid a silent loveliness on hill and wood and field. O'er white expanses sparkling pure, the radiant morns unfold. The solemn splendors of the night burn brighter through the cold. Life mounts in every throbbing vein. Love deepens round the hearth, and clearer sounds the angel hymn, goodwill to all on earth. O thou whose unfathomed law the year in beauty flows, thyself the vision passing by in crystal and in rose. Day unto day doth utter speech, and night to night proclaim in ever-changing words of light the wonder of thy name. I like that hymn. Back in 1995, we announced in Berkeley that we were moving to Kentucky in 2 years. There were 2 comments. One was, "Oh yeah, you'll never do that." But the other was, "Well, at least you'll have 4 seasons." In Northern California, we had only 2, the green season and the brown season. The wet season, the green, and the dry season, the brown. You can pretty much count in Northern California on rain only after the 1st of October, and no rain after April. That's just it. The dry season begins. Here in the Ohio River Valley, however, this really is autumn. It has really arrived for us here. There's no doubt about it. There are no more heat advisories, I hope. Some of the maples have already turned deep burgundy, and some of the birches are changing to gold. Having grown up in South Dakota, Kentucky's winters don't bother me too much. Winter here isn't nearly as bad as winter in Alaska is, according to our daughter. But I'm used to snow and cold. It's just that I don't particularly like it. But I'm used to it. Although I have to say that I was spoiled for 27 years by California weather. There's nothing quite like taking Christmas afternoon and driving around in California, Northern California, to see the camellias in bloom. It's wonderful. All beautiful the march of days as seasons come and go. It's all beautiful, all right, but this march of days is pretty inexorable. I feel that I'm really lucky to witness the seasons continuing to come and go. I notice that the march of days seems to be moving faster these days, though. I've reached an age where I'm no longer just getting older. I have arrived. I am old. I can't deny it anymore. All I have to do is look in the mirror. John Glenn said, "There's still no cure for the common birthday." Elaine and I have not avoided our share of medical issues, but on a whole, we both consider ourselves lucky to have the level of health and wellness that we have. Andy Rooney said, "It's paradoxical that the idea of living a long life appeals to everyone, but the idea of getting old doesn't appeal to anybody. We generally wouldn't mind living a long life just as long as it doesn't involve any medical or physical decline. But that's really not a reasonable hope. God gives us human life, not perfect life. And that's the problem." Although Chris Geiger says, "I don't mind getting older. It's a privilege denied to so many." So I thank God for the good but imperfect human life that I have. One reason it feels like life is moving so fast is that a day is so much smaller a unit of time than it used to be. When I was a child, I took out my calculator and figured this all out. When I was a child, waiting 30 days for Christmas to come was an eternity. And if you figure it out numerically, 30 days for a 6-year-old is like 1.4% of their whole lifetime. For a 78-year-old, on the other hand, 30 days is just 1/10 of 1% of my lifetime. And so I'm over the hill and picking up speed. Getting old takes a certain amount of courage. This is not something for sissies. So many things are subject to possible breakdown. What used to work may not continue to work. And at these times, I'd like to go back to the 23rd Psalm for some comfort. And this is what I find there. "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." At my age, I can see the shadow of death. But the good news is, I don't have to be afraid about it. God, who is perfect love, casts out fear. In honor of that God-given gift of life that I have, here's what I plan to do. I plan to do as much as I can for as long as I can. And in the meantime, I'm not afraid. As I roamed around the internet this week, I came across some nuggets of wisdom about aging, and I want to share them with you in closing. And the first one is from Oscar Wilde. There's 2 or 3 of these in the same kind of vein. But Oscar Wilde says, "With age comes wisdom, but sometimes age comes alone." Ogden Nash says, same thing in a different way. Ogden Nash, "You are only young once, but you can stay immature forever." Walt Disney puts it this way, "Growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional." There's some quotes to go in other directions, though. This is from Benjamin Franklin. "Those who love deeply never grow old. They may die of old age, but they die young." Mark Twain says this, "Age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. And Madeleine L'Engle says, the great thing about getting older is that you don't lose all the other ages that you have been. I like that. And from Cher says this, some guy said to me, don't you think you're too old to sing rock and roll? And I said, you'd better check with Mick Jagger. Another rock and roller, John Lennon, count your age by friends, not years. Count your life by smiles, not tears. Franz Kafka, anyone who keeps the ability to see beauty never grows old. Here's Henry Ford. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. And the last but best, this I really like. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, the best tunes are played on the oldest fiddles. Now, God bless. Stay young. Take care of yourself. If you find value in this, I humbly request that you pass it along. Thanks for your time. Take care.